last month, Scorpio, you were anxious for the changes that are coming. Well, they do come, and there are blessings. It is good news. But there's just a little wrangle we need to get through, and that is that there's a tower moment. We need to knock something down to make way for the new. It's probably belief system. It doesn't have to be, but it's probably a belief system. And it needs to change in order to let in the new. Now, things are, broadly speaking, positive. What I would say is in the future there is a deception, but I often associate that with the blessings that you receive. It's just a test of you. So I'm not reading too much into that. And as I say, I do see the tower as being absolutely necessary. In the past we have the Empress, so a very nurturing power. But now that moves up to the Emperor, so incredibly positive, moving from the Empress to the Emperor, but having both in the spread. Incredibly positive, very, very powerful, saying that things are very together. And we have the Lover's card here, which is suggesting that it is about love. I mean, I suspect love in its broadest form. Let's keep it at that for now. Love in its broadest form. And that leads you to seeing the value of sort of investing in yourself. Maybe it's training, maybe it's doing something. But you're aware of the changes and you realise that you need to respond to that in a very positive way. Now the change is here, the changes are already here. But what you're not to do is to get too focused on that change. It's here and it will bring blessings to you, but just simply looking at it will sort of push you off course. So you don't want to be sort of, you were anxious last month for it, and so now it's here. What you don't want to do is just be focusing on that. You must focus on how you need to change and how you need to rebuild as a part of this tower moment. As I say, there is some deception it doesn't have to be next month, but it's not this month. But I'm sure that's just a test of you to see if you've learnt the lessons of this last cycle. Now, what dominates this month, or this spread, is a tower moment. So it is a somewhat unwelcome destruction of something. I believe you've been anticipating change, and the change is here. I believe that something has to give for you to let in the new paradigm, the new blessings. And so I don't see this negatively at all. In fact, it's always there for a good reason. It's always in your best interest, a tower moment, but it doesn't feel pleasant when it happens. And so it might be a bit of a fractious month for you, but the blessings are there. In fact, I don't think it is fractious. I think the blessings really are there, and it's just about letting go of the old and allowing the new in, and things will be much better. Now, in your recent past, the energy is that of the Empress, and I can sort of understand that because of you were anxious for the blessings to come, and the Empress is somebody that is indulgent. I mean, she's very nurturing, but she's also indulgent. But she doesn't just indulge on herself; she indulges on everybody. So that you're anxious for blessings sort of makes sense, because it's sort of a part of this indulgence, isn't it? It sort of makes complete sense. It's a very powerful card, and what's amazing is it's followed now by the Empress. So when you put the Empress and the Emperor together, it's very, very powerful indeed, and it's moving absolutely in the right direction. So yeah, very interesting. current energy is that of the Emperor, and it's so powerful to have moved from the Empress to the Emperor and to have the two of them. I suppose, you could see it as somewhat sexist, but, they're just names. They're just names. But the Empress is, if you like, the power behind the throne. And the Emperor really is the power. So you're stepping into your power. Instead of sort of orchestrating things, you're actually now dictating things. A little bit conservative. A little bit of a conservative energy. People look up to you, and people look up to you for that conservatism. But it is that ever so slightly conservative. Does that matter? I don't know if it does. No, not when you combine it with the Empress, No, I think this is a very good sign indeed. Assuming we don't see the overall energy of the Tower negatively, and I certainly don't, particularly not in this reading. The only negative we have is in the future, and that's a negative of deception. It's one of those deceptions whereby they know they're deceiving, they know they're doing wrong, they might even change their mind, and you might even catch them out, so it might not happen. But there is a deception, and so it's never pleasant to uncover deception, to find out about it. But I think this is a test. I think, a new cycle has started, and it's to see if you've learned the lessons from the old cycle. So how do you react to this situation is probably fairly critical. As I say, it's in the future, so it doesn't matter that much. The energy that leads to the outcome, and I think it's a very positive energy indeed, is the energy of the Lovers. And I always interpret this as being what it says. It's about the Lovers. But I wonder if there's a bit more to this energy that I need to draw out here. Because it's an energy of having nothing to hide, an energy of open communications. This rendering reminds one of the Garden of Eden, of Adam and Eve, as it were, and, they just have the fig leaves, don't they? I don't know if they do they have loincloths, don't they, for Catholics? But anyway, they have nothing to hide from each other. They are absolutely aware of each other. And I think what we should read into this is open communications. And I think that's the big change that has come about, that I don't think you're even struggling with. But it means that you must put away some of the past, which may not have always been honest, and embrace total honesty now. I think that's what it's telling us. I keep mentioning the change to a new cycle. And it has happened, and here it is, the Wheel of Fortune. Should bring with it good luck as well. And although, you've been feeling the tension for some time, all the things are there. The actual moment is always less of a revolution and more of an evolution. When you look back on it, it'll feel like a revolution. But actually, when you're staring at it, when you're actually inside it, it feels slow. It feels like it's moving slowly, and that's why you were anxious before. But it's here. It's already here. I promise you. What you mustn't do is focus on that. Just focus on adapting and releasing the old, embracing the new. And everything's going to be fine. But just don't focus on this change, because it's here. Now this Lovers, which, it could be Lovers, but as I say, I think it's about openness of communication. And it leads you to realising that you need to develop yourself in some shape or form. It might be formal learning, it might be training, it might be just picking up new skills. But you know things have changed, and so therefore you're saying, well, what am I going to need for the new paradigm? Almost certainly it's not AI tools. No matter what you might be reading or hearing, almost certainly it's not. But yeah, you need to learn something, and you're going to throw yourself into that. And if you remember, there is a deception coming up afterwards. I wonder if this learning leads to that deception. Often the card in this placement does lead to the future, but I'm not sure that it does here. And Cancer, you've known change is coming and you've been anxious for it. Well, it's already here. And, you know, you've been anxious, you can feel it all, but I think you don't actually realise that it's happened, and it has. And it's because when you're on the inside, it feels more like evolution than revolution. When you look back, it'll feel like revolution. But what does happen is something gets destroyed. You need to release some of the old to let in the new. And that happens, and maybe not in the best of ways, but you know, it is for your good. Truth is, you're very, very strong, very powerful. You had the Empress, the nurturing, the power behind the throne, but now you've become the power, the Emperor. Maybe a little bit conservative in doing so. The energy that sort of releases everything, the energy that leads to the outcome is the Lovers. Now, it could be about love, but I've got a feeling it's about openness of communication. And I think that's how you need to be within this new paradigm. And as a result of that, it leads you to believing that you need to learn something, acquire new skills. It must be skills to do with communication, I think. I might be wrong, but I think it's communication skills that you need to learn. And you sort of throw yourself into that. What you mustn't do is focus on, when is this change coming? You know, looking out for the exact moment. Because as I say, when you're on the inside, it never feels like revolution, it feels like evolution. So you could put all your energy into looking for the exact moment. It's pretty irrelevant, you know. You will get blessings, but there's always a test. And after this month, there is deception. It's one of those deceptions whereby they know they're doing wrong. They may change their mind, you might catch them out. But whatever, it's not nice to be deceived. And it's just a test. It's just saying, hey, things have moved on. Are you able to cope with the new paradigm? Are you able to move on?